A regulated nervous system. A regulated nervous system is one which understands the level of threat in the environment and responds appropriately. Find out more in this video with Benjamin Fry. If we want to put the lion to sleep and return our nervous systems to blissful regulation, as you say in your book, you say one of the first things is to time travel. You touched on it a bit before, but is that investigating our internal world, and how do we do this?
Well, I think there's, it is challenging. So it's nice to break it down into a few slightly less challenging steps, I hope. But it's difficult because we don't grow up learning this. It's not part of our language, our vernacular. And therefore it can become less intuitive than it should be. But the first thing to do in any given situation is to try to break it down into triggers, baggage, and reaction. So when you think of something that's really difficult, or you're experiencing something that's really difficult, usually the temptation is just to point the finger and blame someone else or something else. It's like, life's dealt me this shitty hand, or that person's been an arse to me, or, these things have happened to me. Reframing that's really important, so that you, instead of putting all the judgment out there, you just take from out there the bare bones of what's happened. So it's like, I got a letter from a solicitor this morning discussing some legal issue, rather than some arsehole has dumped on me from a great height. It's a different language. It's like, this thing really happened. This is a kind of a reasonable description of something that's happened. Or someone said these words to me, rather than my wife is a total bitch today. You dial it down to what actually was done and said. And then you look at what was the baggage. What did that hit in me? So it all comes inside. So it's like, I got this letter from a solicitor this morning, and I noticed that I just went completely through the roof on the inside. I was furious, I'm anxious, I'm terrified. I want to write to everyone and tell them that they're all jerks. And then ask the question, what's that really about? Where is the baggage coming from? It's not always easy to do. So then once you've at least reframed it slightly so that you have a question, the important thing is to ask the question about yourself, not to be just pointing fingers out there. So you have a question on the inside, which is like, I have this tremendous discomfort because of this letter from a solicitor. I wonder where that's coming from. And then to answer that question, you don't use your prefrontal cortex. You don't use your human brain, because the human brain is the confused part, right? And one of our great challenges is to yield the human brain, because we're so fascinated with our thoughts. We think to ourselves all the time. We talk to ourselves all the time. We think that is who we are. But it isn't. It isn't really who we are from an identity point of view, and it's certainly not all that we are from a biochemical point of view. So what you want to do then is you want to yield the thinking brain and get into the mammal and reptile brain called the limbic system. And it's very simple to do that. Instead of asking yourself, what am I thinking? You ask yourself, what sensation am I aware of? Because the limbic system is all about sensation. So information comes in through all the senses. And once you start to ask yourself the question, so when I got this letter from a solicitor, what sensation was I aware of, rather than what thought or feeling did I have? It gets very different. And people find this very difficult at first. They have no practice of it. But if you go with it, you can find things like, okay, so I noticed it made my chest feel really hot. Now, if you stay with that sensation, rather than being afraid of it, if you think of all of these sensations, however uncomfortable they are, as being the path to unlocking this mystery. And sometimes you'll find these sensations can even grow in intensity, which will frighten us, but if you believe that it's good for you, you may go with it. And as you find these sensations, you can do the reverse of time traveling. You can actually float these things back in time. Not consciously, not looking for a result, not with an idea of a result, but just, it's almost like you're asking the body, when did I first have this sensation? Or when did I have this sensation before? And it's amazing what can happen when you do that. There's so much information that comes through the sensation channel of the brain, the limbic system, And you'll find that people may start to discharge that energy right there and then just by allowing that sensation more strength. Or you might find you have thoughts or feelings or memories or emotions. And the key thing is to try to stay with it. So you just ask yourself, can I let this happen? Because the mammal brain is doing what it knows how to do. The human brain wants to get in the way. And that's why we do this psychoeducation, to educate the human brain to get on board and to stay with the program. So what we really want the human brain to do is to say, okay, let's see what happens next.
Okay, so what if I get a letter that has really upset me, but I am rushing through the door to go and do something because I'm late for an appointment, and I don't have time to sit down and question what I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do then?
Well, you'll probably find when you're finished doing what you're finished doing, this is still going to be very